Hi, thank you so much for tuning in and good evening. My name is Anna Wise. I am the Associate Dean of Admission and Director of International Recruitment from Hamilton College. This video broadcast is part of a new set of services that we're launching for international students, applicants, stakeholders, family members from around the world, trying to make sure that we are working with all of our international applicants to make sure that you have the information that you need to learn about Hamilton College and have access to answer any questions about your application process. So today's conversation is going to be fairly relaxed. We're going to talk a little bit about Hamilton College in general, some things that we think might be helpful for you to know while considering Hamilton as part of your college admissions search. We're also going to bring in one of our current students and talk a little bit about his experience as a Hamilton student. He is a senior, so getting ready to graduate. It's very exciting. And afterwards, we'll talk about the admissions process and have time for questions and answers. So if you have questions at any time throughout this presentation, please use the chat box on the side. One of my colleagues who is off camera is going to filter those questions and send them through to me on this iPad. Very, very high technology for this operation, let me tell you. So questions will be shared through the iPad, and we will address them towards the end to make sure that any kind of questions or concerns you have are answered. Now that said, we're going to talk a little bit about Hamilton College in beautiful upstate New York. Now, I would imagine that some of you have previously heard the name Alexander Hamilton, right? He's quite famous for the musical, particularly nowadays. We like to say, as he was one of our original trustees when the college was founded, that we loved him first. We also like to think that the spirit of Alexander Hamilton continues on through Hamilton College. And part of that spirit of Alexander Hamilton is our motto. Our motto is know thyself. Know thyself can sound kind of overwhelming though, right? I'm sure some of you watching are maybe 16, 17 years old. You're trying to get through your secondary school and then trying to navigate your college application process. And the idea of knowing about yourself can be overwhelming. Self-knowledge is oftentimes a lifelong pursuit for many of us. But at Hamilton, we feel very strongly that it is part of a well-rounded and quality education to help our students learn more about themselves and also how they fit in a context in society. So as you learn more about Hamilton College, we're going to continually come back to the idea that there is no one Hamilton College student and no one Hamilton College experience. Rather, all of our educational experiences are designed to help students along that path towards knowing themselves. Now that said, to help students kind of learn about themselves, we make 3 promises to each Hamilton admitted student. The first is to study what you love. The second is to be who you are. And the third is to find your future. When I say study what you love, this really comes down to the academic curriculum philosophy here at Hamilton College. Now, a lot of you are coming from a variety of different educational backgrounds that are, of course, quite different than the US higher education system and quite different from the concept of a small college of liberal arts. Now, a small college of liberal arts in the US is usually designed around the idea of small classroom sizes with faculty who get to know students individually, seminar-style classrooms where rather than having somebody lecture to you, students are engaged in the content, and oftentimes focus on interdisciplinary study, the idea of students having interest in more than one academic area and studying how those academic areas might interact with each other. Hamilton is a liberal arts college, very much following all of those ideas, but with a certain additional component, which is our open curriculum. When we say open curriculum, what differentiates us from a good deal of other colleges of liberal arts in the US is we do not have any general education or core requirements as part of our studies. So Hamilton students, as I said, there's no real one Hamilton experience, and that starts with our academic curriculum. Students are selecting classes and courses to study which they are personally interested and passionate about. There are a lot of benefits to an open curriculum because you will find when you take classes, you will be surrounded by other students who are in the class because they have a genuine interest and passion in the academic subject area. So you would never find yourself at Hamilton College in a class surrounded by students who are only taking that class because they have to graduate. This really leads itself to more genuine participation in the academic discussions and projects that are undertaken in each class. We also, similarly to a small college of liberal arts model, we focus very, very strongly on the relationship between professors and students. So in order to have an open curriculum like this, there needs to be very, very strong academic advising available to all students. So students, when you're admitted to Hamilton and throughout your 4 years with us, will be paired with an academic advisor, will be a professor at the beginning in some of your original classes that you're taking. Once you do declare your major in your second year, that advisor may shift to your new academic major subject area. The advisor will work with you one-on-one individually to talk to you about what are some academic interests that you have, what are some things you're maybe less interested and passionate about so you can avoid those, and also what type of real-world problems are you interested in learning more about and potentially researching as a way to find a field and a career that would be passionate and that you could be passionate about and hold your interest. That said, while we have a general open curriculum, we have an open curriculum here. We also, each student does graduate minimum with one major and a minor, but about 20% of our students will actually be double majors. So that's some of the benefits of an open curriculum model that we have here at Hamilton College. Now, there are, however, some general requirements that students do need to meet. For instance, students would need to take at least 3 writing intensive courses as part of their subject work. Now that might sound a little bit stressful, but I assure you, a lot of our courses at Hamilton do have writing intensive designation. In fact, 1 out of 5 classes that's offered at Hamilton is considered writing intensive. And some of those are subjects you might imagine, such as history or such as maybe even economics, and some of them might be even mathematics or STEM-based courses, where those classes would still be designated as writing intensive. At the same time, we do have 1 quantitative reasoning course that you will need to take in order to graduate. And again, you might assume this means a mathematics or a science course, but actually you can take classes in a variety of subject areas that are considered quantitative. An example might be in our philosophy department, you could take a logic and symbolic reasoning course, which would then meet that quantitative requirement, but is not technically speaking a math or STEM field. And finally, in order to graduate, every student conducts a senior capstone thesis or research program project while they are with us. This means depending on which major you ended up selecting, you will have some students will undergo an extensive research project, some will write a thesis. There's a variety of different forms this final project can take, but every student who graduates from Hamilton will have that experience. Now that said, the second promise, as I indicated towards the beginning, the second promise is be who you are. When we say be who you are, this really speaks to the idea again that there's no one Hamilton student and no one Hamilton experience. So when we are considering students in order to be admitted to Hamilton and join our community, we are really focusing on the idea of community and making sure that students who come here come from a variety of backgrounds. This international webcast we're doing is part of our dedication towards making sure that students who come to Hamilton come from all over the world and are coming to study with us to join in our academic and social community here. We like to say on top of the hill at Hamilton College. And an example of that is with the last incoming class that started at Hamilton. So students who started this fall, 2019, we had representation in that class from 45 different US states and 46 international countries. So international students bring a very, very important perspective to our campus, and our international students are a very strong priority for our outreach, for our admissions team when we are creating our community. Coming back to that idea of community, the campus is 100% residential, which means that all of our students live on campus in residence halls for all 4 years. So this idea of community and cohesion and harmony is very, very important for all of our students as well as our faculty. Now, when I say that there's no one Hamilton student, there are some similarities that a lot of people will note. First of all, we've been described as freakishly friendly, right? So we're generally a very friendly community of Hamiltonians. Also, you'll find that our students are quite creative, quite inquisitive, and also are very, very engaged on campus. So when I talk about us being a residential community, we also have a variety of clubs and organizations that you can use to get involved in. Now, Hamilton has about 1,850 students in total, so we are considered a fairly small college campus environment. But for 1,850 students, we have over 200 clubs and organizations you can get involved in. Those clubs and organizations may range from athletics. So, for instance, 1 out of 3 of our students is a varsity athlete competing in NESCAC NCAA Division III athletics. 2 out of 3 students participate in some type of athletic activity. So that might be varsity, that might be an intramural, it might be a club activity. We also have very strong opportunities for arts, performance, and engagement. And we encourage students, even if you are not an art or theater major, to get involved with the arts and theaters department and potentially get involved in one of the many productions or student showcases that we have across campus. Now, arts and things like athletics, we also have 5 different a cappella groups, which are singing groups where students sing without accompaniment from different instrumentation. We also have clubs and organizations that you may not immediately have thought about. So for instance, you could get involved with Pickling and Fermenting Club if you wanted to. The Pickling and Fermenting Club is a great opportunity if you have always secretly wanted to learn to make sauerkraut. This is an opportunity. We also have clubs that would be volunteer organizations. We have clubs that would be excursions. Our campus is located on the edge of a beautiful nature mountain range called the Adirondacks, and we have several clubs and organizations that would organize trips and excursions both into the mountains and also into some of the more of the local major cities such as Boston, Philadelphia, or New York City. So additional opportunities that you would have in order to be who you are would be study abroad opportunities. Of course, if you're participating in this webcast, probably you're already considering studying abroad in the US, right? So you might think, I really just want to come to the US and study there. However, if you would like, you also have the opportunity to study an additional location as part of your education here at Hamilton. For instance, we have three semesters where we would offer immersion type full semester study abroad programs. One is in Beijing, one is in Paris, and one is in Madrid. Students who participate in these programs take a pledge, which is that they will speak the local language for 23 hours out of the day. So that additional hour, as you know, so you can call your mom, call home, tell your friends how you're doing. But for 23 hours out of the day, students sign a pledge that says they promise to speak in that local language. The reason for that, of course, is that it is much easier to learn a language if you really immerse yourself fully into using it. Now, our students take this promise very seriously, so much so that when one of our deans visited our students in Beijing, the students actually hired an interpreter. So when they went to dinner with the dean, they did not have to break their promise to not so then they were able to maintain their promise and speak only in Mandarin with the dean. Now, if you don't wish to do an immersion program, there are a lot of different opportunities for study abroad where you can get involved. For instance, a lot of our students will get engaged in research during their studies here. Now, I like to joke that when you think about research, oftentimes we think about students in white lab coats with, beakers with very complicated looking chemicals of different colors, etc. We have that type of research at Hamilton as well. But we have research opportunities in a variety of different academic subject areas. Some students will live on campus, and actually we award about $500,000 of research funding to students who wish to engage in research over their summer studies. And we also have students who will do research over the semester. Now, for summer programs, there are a variety of options. For instance, we had a student this past year who decided he wanted to study economic policy related to Cuba and examining countries that engaged in the trade embargo and countries that did not engage in the trade embargo and see economic differences. So he was able to put together this proposal and actually travel to Cuba, funded by Hamilton College, in order to conduct this economic research project over the summer. Again, an example of a student who has passion and interest somewhere and was able to put together these ideas along with guidance from a professor and was able to create an experience unique to his own Hamilton education. Now, finally, the last promise that we wanted to talk about was the idea of finding your future. When we say finding your future, we're really talking about career outcomes, right? I know all of us are interested in gaining our education for education's sake and bettering ourselves mentally, physically, socially, all of those. Of course, I think most of us want to know also what our future is going to entail. Now, the philosophy behind a liberal arts education is the idea of interdisciplinary study, remember, which is when you combine multiple academic areas, see how they interact together. Interdisciplinary study to encourage students to become critical thinkers, creative, and problem solvers. Now, an example of that I like to joke about is sometimes I can talk fairly quickly, right? I'm from New York. I was educated in New Jersey. I was always going to talk a little fast. But that said, I talk quickly. The world moves more quickly. A lot of our students, when they graduate, they talk about working in industries where they are the first person to hold their job. And Hamilton students particularly adjust very, very well to the quickly changing nature of an increasingly digital world. An example of that might be one of our alums, Mark Rudolph, who is actually a co-founder of Netflix, right? So if you think about Hamilton alum, co-founder of Netflix, you might assume that he was a mathematics major. After all, mathematics is the second most popular major at Hamilton College, or he might have been a computer science major. In reality, he was actually a geology major, right? Which gives you an example of the idea that a Hamilton education is not designed to help put you on one single career track. The idea is to prepare you for a rapidly changing world and to prepare you to learn, to be inquisitive, and to be a problem solver, as the example for this specific alum. Now, for a lot of our alumni, we actually consistently rank within the top 1% for alumni engagement across the country. And some of that means that, yes, our alumni are happy to donate to the college, but some of that also means I'm an alum, I'm very passionate about my experience at Hamilton, and I want to engage with the college and give back in other ways. An example for that would be we have extensive opportunities for students, current students, to either shadow currently working alumni from Hamilton, or even to get internships or even job opportunities that are posted by Hamilton alumni for current Hamilton students. So if we look at our job placement rates and employment rates, the numbers kind of speak a little for themselves. 1 year after graduation, 98% of Hamilton students are either employed or in graduate school. When we look at the students who graduated this past year, so those who graduated in May of 2019, over 80% of them said that they had at least 2 internships or research opportunities as part of their studies. Over 95% of them said they had at least 1 internship or research opportunity as part of their studies. Again, about 80% of students said they had 2 interviews before they had graduated, and about 80% of students said that they had served in a leadership capacity in a club or organization across campus. Those experiences that students have had through internships, through leadership opportunities, through clubs and organizations, and of course, interviewing experience can be very helpful. But where do those outcomes come from? And we start with career preparation really from your first year at Hamilton. So your first year at Hamilton, you'll be paired with a career counselor who will work with you individually and will talk to you about what academic areas are you interested in? What type of world problems would you be interested in engaging more with and potentially pursuing further down in your academic or professional career? And based on a lot of that work, they will help you put together a plan for engagement and for developing your career proficiencies by the time you graduate. That said, at this point, I would like to welcome one of our current students. This is Mahdi. Come on in.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
So why don't you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your experience at Hamilton?
Absolutely. So my name is Mahdi. I am a senior here at Hamilton College. I am from Khartoum, Sudan, right in the middle of Africa, the country that has the most pyramids of any other country on the planet.
Hey,
as I love telling people.
Look at that.
I am an economics concentrator and I double major in world politics as well. Here on campus, I do a lot. I lead tours sometimes. I'm a language tutor. I teach Arabic. I work at the Writing Center. I've worked at the Career Center beforehand. And just a little bit about the extracurriculars I do. I'm the co-president of Hamilton's TEDx. We have an event coming up that I'm very excited about. I'm also the president of Hamilton Model UN. I've actually just stepped aside. It was quite a ride for 4 years. And yeah, I'm very involved with the International Student Association. We're actually leading a trip to Philadelphia this Thanksgiving break to all the international students who are on campus. Will be their first time to Philly, so that will be interesting. I'm also a member of the Muslim Student Association and the African Continentals. Yeah.
All right, so for those of you who may not be aware, Thanksgiving is a very popular holiday here in the U.S.
Yes.
It's a holiday that's focused on the idea of getting together with family and friends, sharing a lot of food.
Absolutely.
And talking about elements of your life that you're thankful for.
Yeah.
So we have that holiday coming up this next week. And alongside, we're going to have a 1 week break.
Yes.
So with our 1 week academic break, some students will travel and some students decide, you know what, from far away, a week is not that long. So they'll stay on campus. So this type of trip to Philadelphia, which is a 4-day trip.
Yes, it is a 4-day trip.
4-day trip.
And it's organized by the International Student Association.
Mm-hmm.
And we are taking everybody on to a trip to Philly. It's obviously fully funded by the club. And by Hamilton College, very generously agreed to fund us. So we're driving into Philly. We're staying at a very nice place, right close to the biggest attractions. Right around the corner from where we're staying, the U.S. Constitution was signed. Independence Hall is right there, the famous Philly market. I'm excited to have our international students taste their first authentic Philly cheesesteak. It's a great experience. I remember my first. And it'll be also like a culturally enriching experience as well. You get to visit another major city in the East. It'll be a lot of fun.
Very exciting.
A lot of fun.
So can you talk a little bit then about your experience, how you found Hamilton, and what made you decide Hamilton was the place you wanted to attend?
Absolutely. So back when I was home in Sudan in the early ages, it's been a while.
So long ago.
Long ago. I was looking for a school that had an open curriculum. Our educational system, as Anna said, is super different. You choose a career path at an early age and you stick to it, and it's your do or die. And I was looking for something a little different. I was looking for schools with an open curriculum, and Hamilton made the list. And I'm also like I have a voracious appetite for reading and writing. And so I was looking for a school that was going to help me hone my writing skills even further. And Hamilton showed up on both lists, and I was like, this sounds like a cool place. During the entire admissions process, I was in contact with them. The Hamilton, the one takeaway I had from the Hamilton administration and the Hamilton student body is that they were incredibly friendly. What you were saying earlier.
Freakishly friendly.
Freakishly friendly. Everybody on the Hill was friendly. The campus, of course, looked gorgeous. I wasn't able to visit, but I was able to take the virtual tour that you can find on Hamilton's website. And I was able to speak to different members. I got interviewed by Hamilton's seniors themselves, and it was very enriching to me. I think I got a very good sense of the school from then. I decided that was something that I wanted to do for my life. I wanted to join part of that community, have the academic freedom, have the small Socrates method-based classes, discussion-sized classes, have that close relationship with professors, and Hamilton has delivered in every way.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So classroom sizes. How big do you think your regular classroom sizes are?
I think the one time I had a very big class, I had 30 students in my introduction to economics class, and the professor stopped and he was like, this is not working. I love to know the name of every student. 30 is not too many, but it is too many for Hamilton. And so we split the class actually to 2 sections. And I think that just shows the promise of Hamilton, when they promise individualized care, access to professors, not just through the classrooms or their office hours, but even after that. Hamilton delivered in every way, and I was able to get more out of the class. It wasn't just graphs on the board, but we were able to talk to our professor and take what we learned in the class and apply it onto a worldwide model. Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Econ is a great major, you guys. Highly recommend.
Econ is one of the most popular majors at Hamilton.
It is, yes.
Economics, mathematics, and then government
Government.
are the top three.
I major in two of those.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah, no, when it came to selecting my major as well, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I think my first semester here, I took 4 classes in 4 different departments. My second semester was much of the same. And I think it was the open curriculum that gave me that freedom. I did not have to worry about core requirement or any graduation requirements to fulfill. I was able to branch out and experience. I really loved my economics classes. I think they spoke to the intuitive analytical part of me. And I love my world politics classes. It's always good to know what's in the world. And then as an international student, I realized, I'm from outside of the country, but I don't know that much. And it's very thought-provoking. The classes are always very thought-provoking. I love the fact that they're discussion-based. And I love the fact that your findings are never just trapped in the classroom. You always find a way to take it out of the class as well, which is such a great opportunity. Now every time I go back on a holiday in Sudan, people are like, "Oh, here he comes again," and it's a livelier discussion, I think, and definitely more enriching. And I was able to declare my major in econ. Actually, I declared my major a little later, and I was able to catch up with all my classes and go abroad in my junior year.
Oops.
So,
Where did you go abroad?
I went to Copenhagen in Denmark. I did a program called DIS. Hamilton was super supportive. They helped me with setting up everything. I required a visa to get into Denmark. Hamilton had me covered. It was a very straightforward process. And I would recommend, I think, around 60% of our students
About
go abroad?
67%, I think, of students will go abroad.
Which is a lot. I would highly recommend. And people laugh. They say, you're an international student. You're going abroad. Sort of an abroad square thing, but it was very enriching, and it was nice, to get that difference of the educational experience. One that is Hamilton, one that is facilitated by Hamilton, and I was able to take classes that I would not have been able to otherwise. And I think, I think in the long term, just the transferable skills and just the knowledge that I've gotten from those classes are going to stick with me.
So you were a double major, which,
Yes.
by the way, about 1 in 5 Hamilton students is a double major.
I'm ambitious.
Double major and studied abroad,
Yes.
and all these leadership roles in all these organizations.
I have a very busy schedule.
Very busy.
Yeah. I make time. That's the beautiful thing about Hamilton is that you're never just allowed to fail. Everybody's here so supportive. Everybody wants to help you. Nothing is truly a solitary effort. I mean, you take ownership for your own work because ultimately it is individual work. But there's a lot of collaboration here, and there's a sense of campus-wide team spirit, and it's not just sequestered to the students, but the faculty. That there's a sense of camaraderie between them. You get that in department dinners that are hosted every semester, and I think I learned how to manage my time very well. At first, I was excited and wanted to do everything, but because of Hamilton and because of the community and the way it was structured, I was able to dab my hands to a little bit of everything and then go more in depth into those topics that I felt spoke more to me as a person. I had never done Model UN beforehand. I did it. I enjoyed it. I'd say the college circuit is very, very different from the high school experience. It's much more fun. It's a lot more collaborative, I'd say. Hamilton's TEDx is super great because, we don't have just student speakers. We actually bring in speakers, experts in their field back onto campus. And this coming cycle, we actually have a few Hamilton alumni coming to speak. One is a Washington Post reporter. We have a lawyer coming to speak about, a whole different type of topics, and we try to keep it as engaging as possible. And this is all possible because Hamilton facilitates it, but also the Hamilton student bodies has some of the most persevering, hardworking people I've ever met. The work ethic here is quite admirable.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, let's make sure that we, being mindful of time, we want to make sure that we talk about at the admissions process a little bit, admissions and financial aid,
Yes.
and then we're going to have some time for some questions, which again, I hope that you're using the chat box. So the admissions process and financial aid, right?
Yeah.
So the admissions office here at Hamilton, we have a very holistic approach to our admissions decision, which means when you apply, we're going to consider your application, we're going to consider your test scores, your letters of reference, all of the other items that you can find from our website if you type in International Student Application Checklist at Hamilton. But we're considering how you would be as part of our Hamilton community. We talked about how There's no one Hamilton student, and every student brings a different perspective, but we want to make sure that when we invite students to join with our environment, that they are looking to be challenging themselves and work ethic fit and all of the other elements that Mahdi was talking about as part of his description of the student body.
Yes.
So as part of that, the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure when you're applying to Hamilton, if Hamilton is one of your top choices, let us know, right? There's the famous saying which says you'll miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right?
That's true.
So the first thing you have to do is, of course, if you're interested in joining Hamilton, is apply and make sure that you're completing your application by the deadlines.
Yeah.
Now, early decision 2 deadline has already passed. I believe some of the students who are online now may be in the early decision 2 group of students who are currently being reviewed by our admissions committee. We have early decision 1 deadline. Early decision 2 and regular decision are both going to be due on January 1st, right? So let's talk about what the difference between regular decision and early decision means. Regular decision means you're applying to maybe several different colleges and you're not yet committed to one or the other. If you do decide that Hamilton is your number 1 choice, you may think about submitting an early decision 1 or 2 application. Basically what that means is Hamilton is my top choice. And if I'm admitted to Hamilton, I promise that I will enroll and I will withdraw any other offers of admission from other colleges and universities. So you can only apply to one college early decision, whereas you can apply to multiple colleges regular decision. Now, when we consider you for admission, again, we're considering your engagement with the process. So by logging into this webinar platform, you've showed us in one way that you're engaged and you're interested in Hamilton, so congratulations. Other ways you can show that you're engaged in Hamilton, once you've submitted your application, you'll have access to an application portal, which is where you can upload documents. You can also see updates on your admission status. And there's also a section where if you would like, you can include additional information. That could be, for instance, a URL. Maybe you have a YouTube channel that you want us to review. That could be an entirely optional additional essay which says why Hamilton, which says why is Hamilton one of your top choices. Realize if you do post a URL or any additional content, the admissions office will review it as part of your application. So it's always important to remember, if you're going to post a YouTube channel, we're going to go through that YouTube channel. So make sure it's something you want an admissions officer to be able to see. Now, that said, we make a second promise to students who are applying to Hamilton. We promise that our education is worthy of your investment, and we want to make sure that the students who come to Hamilton are the most deserving and most worthy and have opportunities here. So that means for every student that we admit to Hamilton College, we make the promise to meet 100% of their demonstrated financial aid needs, which means if you are admitted to Hamilton College and you do not have the ability to pay for a U.S. education, we will fund the entirety of your study. That depends on the financial aid forms that you submit. So part of your application has to be the inclusion of financial aid forms. If you're not sure which forms those are, they are listed on our website quite clearly, along with links to the forms and instructions for how to upload them. But if you upload that information along with your application, if we offer you admission, we guarantee to meet 100% of the financial need for students who are admitted to college, and that's for U.S. and international applicants. So we very strongly encourage you to send in your application. If early decision is something you want to do let us know. You can also, if you submit your application regular decision, and suddenly you wake up the next day and say, no, it should have been early decision, you can email us until January 30th and say, I wish to change this to an early decision, and we will make that change in your application. That said, at this point, we're going to take questions from the audience. Okay. So, first question, which is, what is there to do off campus? Do you want to answer that?
Yeah, there's a lot to do off campus. We're very lucky that, when you come to Clinton, New York, where Hamilton is, it's small town America, but we're very lucky to be next to 2 cities. We're next to New Hartford and we're next to Utica. And I think one of the first things students would always say is food. I think the variety of food that is available in both those cities is amazing. There is a movie theater that has these new reclining plush seats. I just go for the seats. And the Hamilton College Clubs, they regularly take students there. There is a fantastic bowling alley. There is a paintball arena that me and my friends go to.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very cool. There's a laser tag place, everything you can imagine. There's even what do you call them? Those trampoline parks. And it's super great. And I think part of they realize that sometimes it might get a little nippy or cold in December. So there are a lot of indoor activities as well, and there's plenty to do on campus too. So yeah.
And
the sky's the limit.
and we do have, so on campus, if you're wondering how do you get around, for navigation, we have free shuttle service
Yes.
that goes on multiple different tracks. We'll take you to grocery stores, we'll take you into Utica, which is called the Jitney, and that runs daily and is accessible to students. For free, obviously, and those schedules, you learn them quite quickly and know, okay, I'm trying to go to the movie at this time, Jitney's going to be arriving at that time.
Yeah, there's also an app that you can use to track the Jitney.
And there's an app you can use to see where is Jitney currently. Now for Mahdi, can you talk about what's one of your favorite spots on campus is?
Ooh, that's a difficult question. I study everywhere. I think one of the best part about Hamilton is that really they've made these they were super thoughtful that there's a study space in every single building you can imagine. You're not stuck in the science building if you're just studying sciences. I study all around campus. I'm in the science center. I'm in the library. The library itself is a maze of amazing opportunities. I'm in any of the academic buildings. I'm in the student center. Sometimes I'm studying. But I would say my absolute best spot on campus would definitely be our Glen. So we have, I think, 1,000+ acres of forest lands and trails, and they're very well maintained by the Hamilton community and by physical plant here. And a lot of the trees are marked, so it's an educational trip too if you want it to be. And it's just absolutely gorgeous. There's a stream running through it, and even when we have snowfall, you just put on your snowshoes and you walk through, and you can hike, you can bike in it, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. The trees are towering over you.
Describe snowshoes, because that might be a foreign concept for a lot of our people.
Yeah, so they're shoes that you use to trek over snow. They can have spikes on the bottom. The great thing is we have an outing club here that has all sorts of snow gear that are free and available to students for whenever you need them. I've been on multiple outing club trips, which is super great. I've been able to climb mountains in the Adirondacks, hike trails. I haven't been canoeing yet, but that's a goal that I intend on going. Yes, that's on the list of things I need to do before I graduate. With all my free time, exactly. And it's super great because it's free and it's covered, and Hamilton just wants you to have a good time. So yeah, that's another thing you can do off campus. Go hiking or climbing mountains or ice wall climbing, or any of the multitude of things, and you don't need to have experience in any of these things. We don't have snow where I come from, and so the first time I experienced snow was here at Hamilton College, and it was super great. I am proficient, with snow.
Proficient is a weird word.
Yeah, proficient with snow. I'm used to it, and I get to do all snow-based activities. But definitely, I'd say my favorite spot on campus is the Glen. Definitely.
Fantastic.
Highly recommend visiting.
So with that, we're going to begin to wrap up. We want to make sure that you're aware how important, of course, any kind of questions that you have for us throughout this whole process, how important those questions are. This can be quite an overwhelming idea to, one, consider coming all the way to a foreign country to study. It's very scary.
Yes.
Traveling far away from your family and friends in a different community. So we want, as much as possible, to be accessible to you. So we do have most of our information published quite clearly on the website. However, if you find that there's a question that you have that you want to discuss that is not clear from the website, we are very, very accessible. One, you can go to your international, you can find the contact information for myself is posted on the website, so you would always be able to email with me directly if you wanted to. We also accept emails, of course, in the admission@hamilton.edu inbox. If you have financial aid questions, we like to talk about how friendly our admissions office is. The financial aid office is just as friendly, if not friendlier, than we are. So if you have questions about this financial aid process, you can also reach out to financial aid. The email for that is FINAID, like fine aid, @hamilton.edu. And we will make sure that any questions or concerns that you have are answered. With that said, thank you so much for participating in this, the first round of our new virtual information sessions for international students. We hope very much to engage with you further throughout this process as you decide which type of college or university you wish to attend. And hopefully we will see you on the Hill very soon.
Bye.